In this month of February, I decided to make a documentary about the black identity because I feel as a black person in New Orleans there are still many challenges with racial discrimination. And I spoke with many different people of many different backgrounds just to get their views on the matter. And I hope by the end of this video you'll be aware of what's actually going on and want to put a change to it. My main goal for this video is to spread awareness because as you see on social media and all that, like racial discrimination still happens. It's never gonna not happen. You used to have people who of past generations look down on black people, and they're bringing it to this generation and they're still looking down on us. And I just wanted to bring awareness that stuff like this still happens. It's probably, like others in the video said, it's more hidden, but it's still present. Like, some people try to relax it a lot, but no, it's still here. It's still gonna be here unless we as a community, like us as a nation, like we just have to put an end to it, because I don't think it's gonna change unless someone. How is life as a black African American for you?
It has its pros and cons. Our culture is one of the pros. The cons are how some people are still set in the past, and it's hard. No matter how much, no matter how much time and all the things that we've gone through to get to where we are, some people are still stuck in the past and treat us as though we are still mentally and physically slaves, and we can be racist within our own race. But it has its pros and cons as well. But that's one of the main things.
So, life as a African American, I think, is different from other cultures and differs greatly according to what time period you're speaking of. Life for an African American is not going to be the same today as it was for an African American in the 1800s or the early 1900s. So life for African Americans continues to evolve, and I think that's very different from other cultures. But during this time period, I would say life for an African American is different from other cultures, as in we have to maintain a certain standard of living. We have to maintain a certain behavior in order to be accepted.
So, life for me, I would say, as a black woman in America has been okay. I haven't really experienced too much of racism or prejudices. I have, but not in a way to where I ever felt uncomfortable. As an adult woman, being who I wanted to be, or like being comfortable in my own skin, I want to say maybe more as a child, like in my youth, I probably had a little more uncomfortable feelings. Just the way we grew up. I went to private school, all girls school, where it was maybe a very small percentage of people that looked like me. And a lot of times me with my hair color growing up and my skin color, I was always in the middle, so I always like crossed over to each side, which is terrible. But I didn't really always feel those things. But you do notice a lot of the differences when you're a child. As an adult, I'm so comfortable who I am, and I love being a black woman, so I really don't pay attention to a lot of racism. Not saying that it's there, not there. Not saying that prejudices don't exist, because it does. I simply just don't entertain those kind of things or feed into those kind of things. But I do address them, you know what I mean?
I say it's challenging because knowing what's been done in the past and what's been said about people of my color, I know it's going to be pretty hard to like make it in life. And
well, I don't have a lot to complain for, but it's good. I don't have any guilt. I don't have anything to explain to anybody. I mean, being black is being black. It's another day of life.
I think life as a black man living in America is still slavery to a sense, but they try to enslave your mind. So I think if you have strong mental capabilities, you can overcome what they're trying to do as a black man in America.
Does society work with you or against you?
Against, because like since they know I'm black, they gonna have a impression in their mind already, like, oh, she not smart, oh, she a black woman, she's ghetto, she don't she don't know nothing, like she don't want to be successful.
Both. I'm gonna start with the against, because for one, I'm a black male with dreads. That's just stereotypical right there, yeah. But I also feel like, they work with us because, there are a lot of opportunities for black people in the world, especially with the knowledge that we have about our background and other things like that.
I feel like society works against us because, like, for example, the ACT, the SAT, stuff like that, I feel like those are set up because most of us are minorities and most white kids do come from better homes and, their parents have legacies and stuff. So I feel like the system is kind of rigged against us.
So, like we were talking about earlier, in society working with or against me, like I said, I don't really tend to look at things in a societal view. I don't expect or think that anyone in society, whether it's you, my people, whoever, should do anything with me or for me. I typically just go at things head on with like what I want to do, how I want to do with my own personal ambition. I look at things in a personalized view when it comes down to me, and I look at things for the scope of the world when it comes down to how I want to see things in the world. So I don't really like to depend on society. I get that we're all connected in so many ways, and that in some ways we should, but overall I don't like to let negative things interfere with what I have going on. So I can't look at society as actually the thing that I need to do or be who and what I need to be or do.
I think society works against you. I think they work against you because, even like, I read an article rather, and it was talking about how, it's hard for black Americans, even with high credit scores, to get loans for businesses or to purchase homes and things of that nature. So I think it has a real powerful downer on inner city, especially inner city black Americans.
Not set up to have the same life, the same standard of living. We still have, through school, through community outreach programs, tools that are available to us to get what we need. So even if you come from a poor background, society is not set up against you. You can still have the want to go out and get what you need, to get the skills that you need to be prepared for life. So no, I don't feel like society is set up against us.
Have you ever struggled with your identity?
No, with me being Hispanic and me being black, sometimes you can really kind of see how people discriminate against you because of where you come from, or they know your background, or like they know your people. But sometimes you just gotta show people that just because my people did this and my people did that don't mean that's gonna make me as a person.
So, like, my identity wasn't like a problem growing up. It was just like, okay, you're black. I always been around black people, so it was just like I'm familiar with things. It haven't really been an issue for me.
I'll say maybe when I was younger, just wondering things like why certain people look the way they look and why I look the way I look, and just things like that. Why a certain person has that type of complexion and I have mine, or why their hair is the way it is and mine is the way mine is, and just wonder, since we're all black, why we come in different complexions and things like that, and how people view each other.
Yes, I think because in our communities, there's so many things that we don't know about ourselves. Something as simple as where we come from. We're called African Americans. Half of us have never even been to Africa. We know no Africans, or we know a few of them. My great grandmother always kind of told me little things about where my family did come from. So a lot of times I don't like to identify as African American, or I don't like to identify as Black in America, or you know what I mean. For me, just being me is the all identification that I need. But in our communities, it's a lot of self-identity issues because people don't know where they come from, because our history has been so distorted to where we really can't even trace it back. You know, a lot of our ancestors maybe have passed on, a lot of our grandparents, they probably didn't have the access or the knowledge to actually like know a lot of things. So now that our communities are changing and the mind frame is changing and opening up, I think that we have more access to information of like who we actually are and where we actually come from. You know what I'm saying? So typically I don't like to identify as a African American. My history on those words would be too deep for this video. So I don't like to actually identify with those things. It has nothing to do with us as a people. And I don't really relate to a lot of actual Africans either, so I can't really self-identify with them. But I think growing up, a lot of us have these same things we don't know. A lot of my like white friends or Hispanic friends can easily say, hey, my family came from, for example, if you're European and your family came from this area, you can say that. Or a lot of my Hispanic friends, oh, my family grew up in this town in Mexico. Or, oh, hey, I'm Guatemalan. Like, we really can't say that. So it's always going to be a self-identity when our history has been distorted by Westernized civilization. So, of course, I've always had, like, self-identity struggles because I really don't know. And, I mean, I don't trust these websites and things that say, hey, get your DNA. I don't trust those kind of things. So I'm looking for that. So, yeah, of course. Just not knowing who you are, where you come from. I mean, being from New Orleans, you kind of have an idea because how New Orleans is, like our history is like easy accessible. And a lot of our family names, like my mom's family name is all in plantations here. So I can probably trace it. I traced her name back to the early 1700s. So in that case, yes, but you're still, risking finding out that, hey, oh my God, a great was probably a slave owner of yours. And that's why your family's mixed like this. So it's always going to be a self-identity struggle because at this time right now, currently, we're not probably going to find exactly where we actually came from. It's just really a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
No, I was Black and I'm Black.
Have you ever experienced or witnessed racial discrimination?
I haven't personally, but I've seen things that's been going on in the world, and you know, it frightens me sometimes, and it upsets me a lot. But personally, I haven't.
I've experienced racial discrimination within my elementary school years because I attended a Caucasian school, which was like made for Caucasians, and I was one of the few African Americans attending that school. And there was like multiple times where there would be like my Caucasian classmates would be chose like before me within like group assignments and just like almost everything like in physical education in every class just because they preferred to be friends with the other Caucasian students. And I reacted respectfully because my mom never even though we never had to talk about how to react with Caucasian interference or whatever, I still was told to respect people all the time. So yeah. I was I don't know, I had to be 9 or 10. I went to Disney World with my family, and we was all on, you know how you get to Disney from the trolley? We was all on the little trolley thing. And this white lady and her kids was getting on. And her daughter was like, I don't want to get on with these people. And her mom was like, I know we don't want to get on with these niggas either. But this the only trolley that's not full. Just stand over here. And they all stood in this real close huddle. And she was just hugging on her kids. And they was just staring at us the whole time.
Understand?
Oh yeah, definitely witnessed racial discrimination and experienced it. And like I said, I never forget this day. Some things in your life, you just never forget. So, 16 years old, trying to, find a way to make some money to be able to do some things for myself that my mom couldn't do for me. And I got a job on Julia Street, right outside the CBD. And I was a pop washer. And so when the guy, told me that he was gonna give me the job, the first thing he told me was, after he gave me the job, was he don't like black people. So as a 16-year-old kid, I didn't know how to take that. I went on and did the job because I needed some money. But that was my first dose of personal racism against me.
Like 2012, I was in like fourth grade. Outside my apartment where I used to live, they had a basketball court, and it was me and my little brother out there, and they had some white kids, and they was kids, so they don't really know what they was talking about, but they was talking, and I overheard them. They was like, "Why is he so black?" and stuff like that. It made me feel bad because I was like, it was just me and my little brother, so I didn't really know what to say. I couldn't tell them nothing. I just went inside, talked to my dad about it. It made me sad though.
Did your views, thoughts, emotions, or even aspects of life change because of that?
Yes, because it can happen to me or somebody that I know and love. So it just makes me more aware that it could happen to anybody, regardless if it's in another state. It can happen to you. So you just look at it as though just because it don't happen to you directly, it can, and you have to be more aware. You have to be careful, but you have to be cautious as well.
This event that happened in your life? They did at one point in time, and then as I got older, I learned like within social studies and world history that every Caucasian person isn't like out to hurt you.
We treat all people the same still. I ain't gonna let one person's actions, determine how I treat everybody else.
Change because of this?
No, I mean, there's a lot of good white people, and there's a lot of bad. Personally, I see a lot of racism stuff happening as well. But it didn't affect me directly, but it affected me indirectly because, even to this day, you still see racism, just let the truth be told from your president. A lot of times I feel like, some white people, just for that old saying, just throw the rock and hide the hand. They try to, hide the racism as much as you can, but, you can see it. And even on your jobs and stuff like that, you wonder like, okay, so this guy comes in, white guy, and, you the best worker on the job, and then they ask you to train him, and then he's your boss, and you can have equal education toward whatever field you're in, and then they'll always tend to place him above you, even though you have more experience and you've trained him to do the job. So,
Kind of, it just made me feel different about like how people view other people based on like how they look. I just don't think it's right.
Do you believe racial discrimination is still present today?
Of course. As I said earlier, being a black teenager with dreads, that cause for people to look at you a certain type of way as it is. Like if I was to go into the store, they'll have someone, making sure like I'm not stealing anything, or being of disruptance to anybody. I live across the street from a cop, so I don't really go outside a lot. A lot of tension. It's just a lot of friction and stuff. It's just way.
Present is prevalent and it will always exist. If we go back to biblical days and look for references of racial discrimination, they exist even in the Bible. So I think anybody to believe that today we don't have racial discrimination, it would just be foolish. Racial discrimination exists. It may be getting better. Either it's getting better or it's not as well seen. Maybe it's a little better hidden than it used to be. Now, I do think society is changing and becoming more accepting of different cultures, different sexualities, races, and things like that. But to say it's not present is no, that would be wrong.
Yes. Because it's a lot of things still going on, even not just in the community environment. There's a lot of stuff that's going on around the world about how people can be discriminated. And it's just crazy to see how you could be judged, because everybody, we all could come from the same place. Everybody bleed the same blood. Everybody breathe the same air.
Yes, I think it's still present because given with social media and different trends, there are, like, if you just around the world, it's just still alive and there. Like, it never died down. It's better than probably the past, but it's still there. Yes, of course. Of course I feel like that because, I mean, even if like the new generation of white people don't do it, it's still like, their great-grandparents, their grandparents still feel that way. So like even if you go like in a nursing home or something, people will not let you take care of their parents, or their parents might not let you, touch them because of your color. Even like down to being a paramedic. Some people don't want you touching them because you're black. You could be the best paramedic, but people still will not let you touch them because you're black. And that's not
Today.
Of course, every day. You live in New Orleans. This is every day. You could just be going to Walgreens buying a snack. They stare you down.
Yes. Yes. Racial discrimination is always going to be present in this society when we have a group of people who are at the forefront of racism, pretending or acting as if racism no longer exists. Racism is always going to exist, especially when we don't want to even acknowledge the history of racism. Something as simple as something like slavery, where they're like trying to take it outside of the textbooks and outside of our history and act as if it doesn't exist. Some of the people who come from those family lines who feel like I didn't do it, so I shouldn't be judged for it. That's not the problem. The problem is actually like addressing the situation and seeing how we can change it. If you are a privileged person and you're not speaking out against racism, then at that moment you're pretty much going along with racism. Racism is always going to exist because racism is a taught behavior. So it's just like trickling down from generation to generation. And I think institutionalized racism is always going to be present. So we see that on jobs. There's literally different job codes. If I come in there and me looking like me, if I come in there with my hair like this, there's a code they're going to write on the paper to say that she looks like this. If I'm articulate in black, there's a code. So it's always going to exist. It does exist, and it hasn't went anywhere. And the main thing to do is, one, in our community, is to not try to include other communities while we're trying to build our own, and two, not ignore the fact that racism does exist, and then just see what we need to do and organize together as a whole to kind of move forward from it. Because I find that when I'm thinking about it, or if I'm like worrying about racism too much, then it kind of pushes me backwards. So I try to not give it too much of my energy. I know it's there, I know it exists, but at the same time, if I'm focused on someone else being racist while their communities are thriving, then I'm pretty much leaving my people behind. So I can't really focus on what somebody else is doing. So yes, racism exists. It's alive and well. It's present. We live in the South. So of course, down south things are way different. Yeah.
Was there ever a moment you wish you weren't black?
It's never been a moment in my life that I wish that I wasn't black. I mean, black people, man, have the power to change the world. But we need to unite and come together. I mean, it goes way back to You know, like I said with Rosa Parks, when and that's just one. You know, with the boycott of the buses in Montgomery, the Black Dollar is so powerful that we shut down the buses because they refused to let blacks sit in the front. And so blacks started to walk and keep their money in their pockets, and the bus companies suffered. And then they allowed the change. So that's just one change. It's many changes that we can make as being black. But once we unite and come together instead of, separating ourselves and just settling, then we'll be more powerful. But no, I've never been ashamed to be black. Everybody did love this little song, and I'm gonna end this like this. James Brown said, man, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. I've been like that forever. So.
Another reason why I don't want to change my color, like wouldn't want to change my color, is because you see a lot of races and a lot of other ethnic groups trying to be like black people. Like the way we wear our hair, they starting to copy off of that. The way we dress, they starting to copy off of that. The way we talk, they trying to copy off of that. Like, why try to be something else when everybody else won't be like me? Like, I'm already what everybody else want to be, so why would I want to change me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
There was never a moment where I wish I wasn't black. I'm proud of who I am. I've learned to love myself at a young age, to where the things that are going on now, I don't want to be anything but black, because I want to make a difference within my own community. And if I was so happened to be white, then I would wish that I was black. So.
Black?
Never. I would never wish that I wasn't black. I feel like being African American is like a gift. It's something that you could never get from somewhere else.
The reason why I wouldn't change me being black is because you was made the way that you were for a reason. And with that being said, a lot of people in society nowadays, a lot of people, they copying off the culture. Everybody trying to be like everybody else. And majority of the people that they trying to be like are the black community. So you wouldn't want to change that, because you being you, just making a change. And, you can make a change in anybody's life, in any culture, but you just got to be yourself at the end of the day.
I think when I was younger, me and my sisters would make stupid jokes about it, but I don't think I've ever not wanted to be black. I feel like being a colored person, being a minority person, or whatever people want to call us or identify, there's so many different names of identification nowadays, whatever you want to be called. I don't think I'm never not proud of that. Our history is so rich, it's so amazing. We've created so many things. We've given birth, like I said, to an entire nation of people. Black women are the only women that can do such a thing like that. So it's nothing. We own the most minority-run businesses, black women. It's nothing about being who I am that I'm ashamed of. I feel like like I said, with the self-identity issues, I feel like we've all wondered, like, what it would be like if we weren't this, because society really doesn't respect us, especially as a woman of like my tone, or like a black woman. Society really doesn't respect you in a lot of ways. You got to deal with like our own issues in our communities, our homes, our families, our kids, our men, and then we have the rest of the world still dumping everything on us. But even with all of that, because I know I've given birth to this whole nation, that doesn't bother me, because I'm built to be able to handle all these things. And that's the beautiful thing about being a black woman, is the fact that we are actually so strong, so resilient. And just as a people, we're like a beautiful people. We're resilient, we're strong, we're loving, we're kind. And I mean, if you're in the same room with all of us, it's just a great energy. So no, maybe having thoughts about it growing up, but at this stage of my life, no. There's nothing about being black that should be shameful. We set the trends, we are the trend. The world wants to be us. We just need to embrace who we are and pretty much stand in that power.
Okay.
No. No, because being black is awesome. I love everything about being black, you know, our culture, past, present. We, okay, like dancing, I'll just say dancing for one. We come up with a lot of dance moves that's fire stuff, like our rap, you know, and hip hop. We have a huge impact on a lot of things that's in the world right now. Cooking, clothing, all that.
No, because I love my identity and I love who I am.
I have never wished that I was not black. I think of any culture, probably black culture is the most imitated. So it's a form of flattery. I wish not. I don't wish to be anything else.
Wish you weren't black.
No. I love being me. Period.
Why did you decide to be a part of this documentary?
Because I appreciate what you're doing, and I really like this. I think that it's important for you to get different perspectives from different people on our experience, because sometimes people think that they're the only ones that's dealing with it, or like they don't know if someone else says, they don't know how to talk about it, they don't know how to like bring up certain topics or ask certain questions or answer certain questions. It's so important just to have these conversations, just for the sake of like our youth. My son, who's 8, just for the sake of him being able to come and see these things like this. So if he ever had a question, maybe I answered his question, and vice versa, whoever else you interview, maybe they answer somebody else's question. Like, we're not in this alone. And I think that's the beautiful thing about a project like this, is because you can meet all these people, get all these different answers, and you yourself can know, like, I'm not alone. Hey, I felt like this. I've done this. But the beautiful thing is I can rise above this. That's all we're doing. That's the kind of people we are. We rise above every challenge that's thrown at us, and that's the best thing about being black. And why would I not be a part of a black production?
I want to be a part of this. I see other people, you know what I'm saying? I want to embrace the culture, you know what I'm saying? Like, if this gonna help out towards something better in the community, you know what I'm saying? Focus on black improvement. That's gonna always help out, you know, to share our minds, you know what I'm saying? Cultivate with other people. Like, that's the main focus for me.
It's me speaking to you is because I felt like me just speaking on things, it could help other people, and it just like, I want to help you with your movement because I feel like it could be real powerful in the future.
This is the last question. It's not on paper. I didn't give it to you. What was your reason to talk to me today and to just like voice your opinion?
Because I feel like we don't get many opportunities to voice our opinion and talk about how we feel about our culture, because I feel like most of the time it's really pushed to the side. So I feel like it was a chance for me to get out anything I need to get out, and I really wanted to help you with your project. So
Because I felt like this is something that black people need. They need more people who want to talk to your black folks and figure out what's going on. We need more documentaries and stuff like this.
Okay.
Being able to talk about being African American and express the feeling I have for being African American, and you like doing this on your own inspires me, and I wanted to be a part of something great.
The reason why I spoke with you on today on this subject was because, you know, a lot of things could be said, and we could keep talking about a whole bunch of stuff about how the issues could go on in the black community, but, you know, you got to get your point across. You got to be heard. You can't just let things pass you by. And another reason was because I wanted to support you as a friend.
I decided to talk to you today because I feel like my voice should be heard, and everybody else's voice in the interview should be heard. Like, even though we're children, we still have, you know, a voice, and we could still make a difference. And you making a difference, so why not contribute to what great you might be about to accomplish? Like, whatever is ahead of you, like, you know, your success.
Well, based on me being a history teacher, right, we can't look at one source and make up our minds about it. So it's important to speak with you to understand this story from the perspective of multiple people: men, women, young, old, poor, rich, middle class. Like, everybody needs to be involved in order to get a clear idea of what is African American life like?
I wanted to do this interview because being black in our world today is very important. I like to talk about black excellence and, you know, how you should feel comfortable in your skin. Gabby is an awesome young black lady right here. We've been friends for a while, so, you know, I just like to support my people.
And then, you know, I decided to talk to you today because, you know, when we were talking, I just realized how intelligent you were, first of all. And then I thought that, you know, maybe if you was to choreograph the message that you're trying to get out, you know, with others as y'all exchange, you know, different views and opinions about different subjects, then that will be empowering. I also said, and I remember saying this, that, you know, we had black leaders at one time, and they were a force against the racism. Those were the people that, you know, marched together, you know, got bitten by dogs, got hosed on, so on and so forth. And it was to negate the racism. Well, we see that racism is coming back again. So then the thing that I asked you was, well, who was gonna stand up now? And then if not me, then who? If not you, then who? If not your viewing audience, then who? Somebody from the new generation needs to get it together and start trying to find ways to come together to combat what's trying to come back in terms of racism.
I'm making this video just to spread awareness on what's actually going on everywhere around the world, that racial discrimination is still happening. Like, if you look on any type of social platform, any social media, that you can see that people constantly are posting stuff about racial discrimination, whether they witnessed it, whether it happened to them. It's everywhere. And I just want people to know, based on this video, that it kind of breaks you down mentally, because knowing that what our ancestors went through and built for us to have this world that we live in right now, like having us go to the same school as a white person, having integrated schools and stuff like that, I feel like it's kind of been stripped away from us, because most people in the white community are trying to bring us back to those days where we didn't have a say-so, and they're just trying to take away our power. But you can't take away power unless you give it to them. And I feel like by this video, people should be aware of what's going on and should want to make change, because if you don't make the change, then who's going to make the change? Nobody. You have to want it for yourself. And I feel like everybody in the black community should want it. Make the change, be the change. Because if the change does not start with you, then where will it start? Who's going to be there for us?